Hi everybody, it's Devin and Lisa here for our weekly fireside chat. So just give you a couple minutes to join us. We just want to thank you again for all your support and love and sharing our videos and making all your comments and your questions. We just love it so much. So thank you for joining us. We're just going to wait a minute or two for people to join on. Make sure you wave at us. Let us know that you're here watching. You're a little bit further away today, so I will answer comments, but
we're trying to get my phone up and running first.
So we're gonna be watching ourselves on our phone, and then on his phone, sorry, and then replying. So it might be a little bit of a delay, but yes. There we go. All right. Okay, perfect. All right. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Well, this week it's National Craft Beer Week, and so we have some craft beer here today, and we are going to be drinking it and trying it. So make sure you crack one open at home and watch us from the safety of your house there. We have Houweling Brewing. We have the Premium Lager, American Style Lager. We have the Bale Breaker Brewing, Field 41 Pale Ale. And then we have Boundary Bay Brewing, Cedar Dust IPA. Oh, I have them out of order. You know. And then we have Aslan Brewing, the Batch 15 IPA. So love, love, love. Devin and I love supporting local because it's sustainable. And it's so important to support local. So at this time, making sure you're supporting your local breweries. Bellingham, are we the capital of, I don't know, we have a lot.
We have a lot. When I first moved here about 3 years ago, I heard that we had one of the most amount of breweries per capita. So yeah. That just means, with our Bellingham's 80,000 population, we have 15, probably more now. Yeah. I'd say pushing 20. We'll see how this pandemic and recession affects people, but most of the breweries were able to continue to produce in this time, still do growlers, curbside pickups, as well as some of them have been generous enough to change their production into producing hand sanitizers and other things. And so, yeah. A lot of businesses have pivoted at this point to try to accommodate better. But
yeah.
Yeah, this is a cross-section of some great local breweries that we work with. Again, most of Bellingham breweries, almost all of them do cans nowadays, as well as bottles. It's easier and cheaper to can and do it in-house than it is other ways. Pretty sustainable, easier to recycle, takes less energy to recycle than bottles. So it's actually a pretty great way to purchase beers. And if you notice, there are even some places, gas stations and whatnot in the area that literally only carry cans. So it is kind of a big movement in this area.
I think it is too, because one of the products that we're bringing in for Seaview Cafe when we open next week on May 22nd is a hard latte. And they had it in a bottle, and it's just being delayed right now because they're moving to a can. And I said that's even better for us because we have the beach here. I really don't, we don't want glass on the beach. Sand and glass don't mix, so we definitely don't want that. But so cans is a great option. And I know we were actually supposed to be having our beer fest this weekend here at the resort. And we were going to have 13 different beer vendors come and a cider house as well. And we do, this would have been our third annual beer fest, and the proceeds go to Makeshift Foundation in Bellingham, which is an art studio. And we're just, we love to support our community and love to support the arts and our brewers at the same time. And it's just so unfortunate that we're not able to have that. So I'm sure Makeshift Foundation would love you to still give them a donation if you're willing and able to do that, because I think they're planning on reopening after this is all open, and just they're such big supporters to the arts in Bellingham and our Whatcom County, and such a big important resource that they are. They have a radio station there too, and they a lot of bands that have started out of Bellingham have started there, and a lot of artists display their art. So it's really important. I know that the arts are really suffering through all of this as well. So, making sure that we're supporting our local artists as well. So Makeshift Foundation, look them up. They're in Bellingham. They would love your support and your donation at this time. And hopefully next year we'll be back doing a beer fest, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, last year we had 260 people come out. We have a barbecue and live music, and there were bands that had been had used Makeshift and had gone through their program and used their space. So it's always just so exciting to see how foundations are being so effective in promoting our young people and artists of all ages. So it's great. So we have these beers here. So we're starting with the Kolschen. So
this the Kolschen is it's a lager style, which means that it was brewed under refrigeration. My wife and I have actually brewed quite a bit of beer, and this last year, my brother and I went to Germany, Czech Republic, and Austria, and did a big beer tour through there. But I've been brewing beer probably for at least 15 years, on and off. And this is a classic American style lager, lightly hopped, and with Yakima hops, German malt. Fantastic beer, kind of the light go-to beer in this local area. Kolschen's a great brewery, and for not many of you know this, but Kolschen is the actual name of Mount Baker. Koma Kolshan was the Native American way to say Mount Baker. So Kolschen is keeping up the kind of the original name of Mount Baker out there. I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I didn't know that. See, learned something new. Watch our fireside chats. I'm learning stuff that's new. You're learning stuff that's new. This is just a really easy go-to. Drink it on its
nice
own.
Very light. Working man's beer, daytime, whatever you want to call it. But it's a very light, refreshing. It's something I would drink, anytime during the day. As far as food pairing goes, a little bit lighter foods, nachos, those type of things would be really great. Yeah. Anything salty, pretzels, that type of stuff. Not necessarily it could actually go for some spicier foods, chicken wings, things like that, but I wouldn't go as far as to pair it with anything heavy, a steak or a burger or anything like that. So.
No, definitely not.
Could go well with seafood, crab, other things like that.
That actually was thinking that because it almost has a sweet note in that. So
towards the finish, yeah.
Yeah, I think that with crab, that would actually be fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so now we're on to the Bale Breaker. I know we sell this one a lot in the summer.
That's nice.
You know what it is? It smells a lot hoppier than it actually is. It finishes a lot smoother.
Yeah. Is this the pale ale?
This is the pale ale.
Yeah. So it's actually got a nice. So the hops start out pretty well, but they don't carry throughout the palate and finish with very soft and kind of sweet. So it has a hoppiness to start, but it's a very nice pale ale for sure.
Yeah.
Very good body. Definitely a thicker beer than a lager or anything for sure.
Yeah. I may have poured us a little bit. Yeah, it is definitely yummy.
Yeah. Very good.
Almost. Do you taste like berry? Like a
I'd almost say more.
Or...
I was going to say more of a fruit. I could see stone fruit, apricot, or peach a little bit for sure. Even almost nectarine maybe. There's like an acidity.
We could just start. There's this guy on Facebook that does this show where he drinks wine and gets drunk and then just says whatever comes to his mind. This might be. He drinks so much beer, we won't get drunk. I promise.
That's true. That is good beer.
That's great beer. So tell us what your favorite beers are. You can leave them in the comments for us. I think this one even you could do a little bit of cheddar with.
Yeah.
It would hold up.
Yep, and this one has a little bit more body to it, so I could see it going with a burger or something else, a little bit heavier body.
Yeah.
For sure.
But if you don't like a really hoppy beer, this is a really good.
It has some hops, but it's not overly hot by any means. It looks like there's Simcoe, Cascade, Mosaic, and Laurel hops, And so I'm familiar with Simcoe, Cascade, and Mosaic for sure, and they are they can be very nice balanced top. Cascade is one of my favorites just because they're pretty prolific in this area, and I've actually been able to grow those. So
this beer actually won the silver medal for American Pale Ale in 2014. They have 96 points on ratebeer.com, and it was the top 25 beers of 2013. So definitely a favorite for many.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the cedar dust, not cider. Okay.
Yeah,
More.
that's good. That's good.
All right.
And so this is definitely a Bellingham staple, Cedar Dust IPA from Boundary Bay. They do a great job with almost all their beers, and this is I think it's one of their flagship beers for sure.
Yeah, Boundary Bay does a great job. Are they one of the original Boundary Bay?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so.
I think they're one of the first breweries, brew houses. It's so funny. My husband said one time to me, he said I really want to have an IPA, so I got him one, and he looks at it, he goes, "No, Lisa, this is an Indian Pale Ale." It was like, yeah, that's an IPA, is an Indian Pale Ale. I still bug him to this day about that.
That's a great. It's a great IPA. It's very again full-bodied,
but not bitter.
No, a great amount of hops, but not too bitter on the finishing of the palate. Finishes again very. Does have a hoppy finish, but it's not too bitter, and it could go very well with a lot of different types of food for sure.
More citrus than the other one had more of that, like you said, that stone fruit.
Yeah, stone fruit, a little bit sweeter.
This is a little bit more.
And that's the hops. The hops in general create that bitterness. The IPA, if I can remember my history correctly, IPA was developed in India as a way to develop ales in India that were similar to English ales, but that could handle the heat and the intensity of India. And so to actually be able to do that, that's where hops became much more prevalent because they were needed to preserve the beer. And so to originally start out, hops were used as a preservative. They're higher bitterness, they're high acid. They actually preserve and help give the beer a longer shelf life. And after that, it became something that was desirable. And so, from what I understand, a lot of the British that were commissioned in India returned home, and then they said, "I want that style of beer. I want that Indian Pale Ale I used to get in India." And then they decided that they started to produce it with a lot more hops. And from what I understand, that's when the hop flavor and that hops intensity became something that was not just as a preservative, but was an actual style, and people really appreciated that type of intensity to it. Before that, ESBs, extra special bitters, those were the types that were had longer shelf lives and stored better because they had the intensity and the bitterness, but those were really well balanced with hops in comparison to the malts. And so you didn't have an overly hoppy out of a bitter. You have the bitterness, but that bitterness comes from the alcohol and other things, not specifically the hops. Plus the other thing with hops is the different types of hops, and so those different combinations create completely different flavor profiles in the beer. You can also hop at different times. Like I said, I've brewed beer before, so you can you add hops. If you're doing a regular beer, you add hops 3 different times. There's flavoring, there's bittering, and then there's finishing. And you can also dry hop, which adds dry hops straight into the fermentation process. The other thing that I've seen from people like who is a Dogfish Head out in Delaware, they do a 90-minute IPA where they actually take fresh hops and they pass that beer through fresh hops for 90 minutes and then put it back in. It creates a real intense, but with a fresh hopped kind of flavor. So instead of it being added at the beginning or the middle process where it's being boiled or anything else, you get a real citrusy kind of bright flavor. A lot of triple IPAs will have that, where they have that almost grapefruit citrus kind of bright to them. So
cool.
yeah. a little bit about IPAs.
Interesting. Love it. All right, the last one is the Aslan. So this one won 2015. It won first place, People's Choice at the Yes We Can Festival. And in 2017, it won the double gold Best Northeastern Style IPA SIP Northwest competition. So that's exciting.
Yeah, so this is a standard, very, at least for my wife and I, a very go-to IPA in the Bellingham area for sure. Batch 15 is phenomenal, easy to go to, you're going to have a great beer. It's primarily Citra and Simcoe hops. Again, I'm pretty familiar with Citra hops. I've had the opportunity to cook with them on several occasions and pair with beer, and also brew beer with Citra hops. I really enjoy them. There's also Chinook and Bravo in this as well, but the primary are Simcoe and Citra hops.
It's so good. So I have a funny story. I was on a wine trip. I don't know if I've shared this already, and who cares? I have a captive audience here, so I got to share it again. But I was on a wine trip last year with our wine club members, and one of our wine club members, Tim Howell, he is an avid beer fan. And so we're sitting,
and a great brewer.
And he's a great brewer, yeah, he brews too. And so we're sitting there and we're listening at one of these paired lunches, and they're talking about, all the flavor profiles of the wine, and there's pencil shavings is one of the flavors, and scorched earth, and we're sitting beside each other, like almost giggling or like laughing, like this is ridiculous, like scorched earth. Who eats scorched earth to know that the wine tastes like scorched earth? And he says, you know what, Lisa? He goes, I go to these brewer pairings and I listen to all these brewer masters, and they'll stand up there and they'll be like, yeah, this one's got, lots of hops, so cheers. And like, that's it.
Yeah,
it's so much more simple.
The brewery world is a little different.
A little different than the wine world, for sure.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories, before I got into cooking, and actually cooking and wine pairing, maybe I'd already kind of leaned into the wine pairing and the wine world a little bit, was I heard a NPR interview with one of the Schmuckers brothers. And he actually eventually, through connections in Sonoma Valley, I actually had the opportunity to meet him, as well as a couple other people that were kind of in the, not only just in the entertainment industry down there, but Charles Schultz's widow and stuff like that. It was really, really great opportunity in Santa Rosa and everywhere. But I was able to, that interview, what I heard was, he bought a winery, and the interviewer said, wow, geez, that's really ambitious. How did you learn about the wine world? People go to school for years, they're in it for generations. And he said, yeah, so what you do is you start hanging out with people, and they talk about wine, and then you just kind of pick it up from there. You just kind of pick up the verbiage, and he's like, before you know it, you're a wine guy because you talk like them. And he's like, eventually you start believing it. You start saying stuff like, the legs, oh, look at that. And he's like, eventually you actually figure out what it is, and you start believing what you're saying. But you start off kind of just going along with it.
Yeah.
Well, our brewers are a lot more straightforward. Why did you do that? What was your decision to make that? There's nothing esoteric. I had a bunch of it in the warehouse. Thought it would taste good. A little bit more blunt. Winemakers and chefs have a tendency to wax on a little bit more poetically.
No? So, yeah. What? I didn't know that. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us for our little beer talk today. I do just want to do a little plug for one of our programs that we're working on right now and developing, and I'm really hoping that mid-June to the end of June that we'll be able to launch it, and it's a Cook with Devin at Home series. So you will actually be able to order a dinner package. It'll have all the ingredients. It'll have a wine paired with it as well, or beer, or whiskey, who knows. We'll see how creative we can become with this. And they'll have the recipe all printed out for you with the ingredients that you would take home, but then there'll also be a link, and we're going to be creating a YouTube account, and we'll be filming Devin cooking that dish, and then you can log on to the YouTube and watch him cook it, so you can cook along with him at
Absolutely.
any time that you want. It's a little easier for us to do it live. It would be a lot more challenging, but then you can just do it at your leisure, at your pace at home. You can pause it if you need to, but you'll also have the written out instructions for you, so you can have a little dinner party once we're allowed to have a few people over, or just for the two of you. And so we're really excited about that program. We hope that you're interested in that as well.
Absolutely. And tomorrow I'll be putting together one of my favorite meals that my wife and I cook at home quite a lot, and has taken me a while to get to the point that I really like, and it's still one of my favorite, is falafel. So we're trying to do a little bit healthier too. I know that trying to keep things ordering out less, cooking in more, but also let's go a little vegetarian and a little bit healthier. Chickpeas and everything else that goes into falafel, great high in fiber, great phenomenal vegetarian meals, good amount of protein, and I'll show you how to make it from scratch and cook right up. So it should be fun.
Awesome. So tune in tomorrow at 3 o'clock here on Semiahmoo Resort's Facebook page to cook along with our Seaside Cooking Series with Devin making falafel. And next week we're going to be talking about a fireside chat. We are opening Seaview Cafe next week, May 22nd, and we'll kind of give you a little bit more of a picture of what our food and beverage outlets are going to look like here at Semiahmoo Resort as we have navigated this pandemic and have had to basically reorganize and restructure how we are going to serve you. But we're really excited. I think you're going to love what we have to offer.
Absolutely.
And just know that your safety and our staff safety is our #1 goal and our #1 priority. And we're so excited to be able to open our doors a little bit more and start welcoming you back here, because we missed you. So I'm going to walk up and turn it off. All right, thanks for watching.
Take care. See you tomorrow.